Hello students, welcome to IAS Specialist Academy. My name is Irshad Khan. So we are going to discuss one of the very important topic in Indian polity and very important topic with respect to the UPSC prelims examination. Okay, the topic is Constitution. And we'll try to link this topic with a very important topic, that is constitutionalism. The another topic is constitutionalism. Now, this concept of constitutionalism remains one of the favorite topic in UPSC prelims examination. In the last 7 years, we have seen that the constitutionalism as a topic has been repeatedly asked in the prelims examination. One way or the another, they are constantly asking this concept. Before understanding what is constitutionalism, we have to understand what is constitution. Before understanding constitution, we have to understand why and how the constitution. Okay, so we have to go in a backward direction with respect to this term, the constitution. Then only we will understand how the constitution came into existence, the necessity of the constitution, and why means the importance of this constitution. This is the two important thing that we need to understand. We need to understand in the context of the constitution. Okay, now I'll just give an idea that is related to the word constitutionalism. Okay, now whenever you see any word or anything that is attached to the word, ism is attached to any word. Ism means what? Ism means an idea. It is an idea. Or you can say, generally we call it in a political science language, ideology. So, what is an ideology? Ideology with respect to this, the word constitution. Like we have liberalism, Marxism, feminism, fascism, communism, communalism. So we have the ism associated with this, existentialism, right? So whenever the suffix is added to the word or any word, suffix, ism, that means it's in itself, it is basically what? In itself basically it is a idea. So constitutionalism, so there is constitution. Apart from constitution, we have the ism, that is the ideology, that is or idea, the philosophy that is associated or attached to that particular word. So before understanding the idea of the constitutionalism, we need to understand what is constitution. Generally, when you read your NCERT, whenever you will read our NCERT, you will see that constitution is considered as a written document. First thing is this, it is a written document, and the another part is it is a living document, right? Living document. Now why it is living document, why it is written document? These two, both the thing has the difference in understanding the term constitution, right? So why we need constitution? We have to go backward in backward direction, and we have to understand the how and the why of this constitution. That is an important part, right? You're getting me? So for all of you people, let's take you to a journey. ओके, आप लोग को एक जर्नी पे ले चलते हैं, ठीक है, एक जर्नी पे, और उस जर्नी पे रह करके सोचिए. देखिए, इन माई लेक्चर्स इन द पॉलिटी आई विल नॉट गिव यू एनी शॉर्टकट टू मेमोराइज द थिंग, बट माई इंटेंशन ओवर हियर इज टू अंडरस्टैंड द कॉन्सेप्ट. व्हेन यू अंडरस्टैंड द कॉन्सेप्ट, द फैक्चुअल प्रीमाइसिस or the factual part that is required for you people to understand something, or to consider that whether this fact is written in the question of the prelims paper, is it acceptable or not. Well, you might be not knowing the fact, but if you know the concept properly, you will be able to deduce that fact, that if the concept is this fact, the written fact in the given statement, in the given question, in the form of this statement, it might be correct or it might not be correct. You will able to deduce that fact. So that is basically dependent on what? Basically it is dependent on the fact or the concept. The fact is dependent on the concept. Okay, you're getting me, all of you? Okay, now let's take you to the journey. Okay, journey to understand the constitution. Now if you have read the history, always there is one, my personal suggestion to all of you, whenever you read polity, you should have a better understanding or enough understanding of history, because history is what? Polity, basically polity. History is what first? History is a fact. Fact about your past, fact about your civilization, fact how you are today, how it has been. मतलब आप कल क्या थे उसके बारे में फैक्ट बताता है, क्या? हिस्ट्री. बट वाई सच फैक्ट एग्जिस्ट, द एनालिटिकल एरिया ऑन दैट फैक्ट, ठीक है, राजा ही क्यों, गुलाम स्लेव क्यों, ठीक है, उसके पीछे का जो आइडिया है या पीछे की जो फिलॉसफी है या पीछे का जो कॉन्सेप्ट है उस पर्टिकुलर हिस्ट्री के फैक्ट के लिए, दैट इज पॉलिटी. और वी कैन करेक्टली, इफ आई मेक इट very outrightly clear to you people, it will be political science as a subject. Political science says you or explain you or make you understand why such historical facts exist in the society, what need to be changed in the society, and how the society can be made better. Right? Now we'll move forward. I have to take you to the journey to understand constitution. Then from that constitution we need to understand constitutionalism. ठीक है, हमें constitutionalism understand करने की जरूरत है उस केस में. ठीक है, तो एक जर्नी की तरफ चलते हैं. Now what is the journey? Now go back in the past. Past means history. आप थोड़ा हिस्ट्री में ट्रैवल करिए और देखिए हिस्ट्री में what kind of political system you are having. You are having monarchy. Monarchy, you are having aristocracy. Then you might be having, at the very early stage of human civilization, which got degraded with time, okay, you were having democracy. You might be heard about this democracy with respect to what? With respect to the democracy with respect to ancient period. You take it in this ancient period, either this ancient period you can take it in the Western civilization like Greek civilization, or you can take it Indian civilization like Sabhas and Samitis. ठीक है, Sabhas and Samitis. You getting me? So over a time when we travel from the ancient to the medieval to the modern, what we are seeing? We are seeing the transition in the form of the government. Our human civilization begins with the democracy that turn into a monarchy, that turn into a dictatorship in the modern period. Colonialism, imperialism, is what? It's a kind of a dictator government. Fascism, the rule of Hitler. You getting me? Okay. Now I have taken you back in a backward direction. What kind of political system that you have experienced? Now this categorization, these three categorization of political system that has been existed in the societies, in the earlier societies, that totally depends upon the kind of or the number of people who are ruling, number of people who are basically ruling. So in monarchy, what we see, there is one man rule, one person is ruling in monarchy. In aristocracy, there are few people who are ruling, and in democracy, there is many people who are ruling. Now the problem is, first we have to come out from this, method of polity, and then we can establish the method of polity which will be addressing the needs and the demands of all the sections of the society. So in all the sections of the society, we have to reject monarchy, because we cannot have one person to rule, because the history is telling us, or history is justifying us, or history makes us understand that whenever one person has ruled the country, one person is ruling the country, the ruler has a tendency to look after their own interest, not the interest of the masses. And in that system, whenever one person is actually making the law, they will make a law, or that person will make a law, right? That person will make a law which will not harm the interests of the person who is ruling the nation. So we cannot have this monarchy. So this is rejected, okay? Because history is telling us that they have made a lot of blunders and they have worked in their own interest. Again, we can move towards aristocracy. In aristocracy, what happened? There is few people who are ruling. Generally, who is this few people? The close relatives, or the close friends, or the rich people of the nation. Okay? The rich people. Generally, in that system, in the Western system, the aristocracy, when the aristocracy rule, they are basically the landlord peoples, and their number are always few. Okay, their numbers are very few. So this is also rejected over a time, because this is a classic characteristic of what? This is the classic characteristic of the medieval period. But in the modern period, when we enter in the modern period, after the second half of 18th century, we have to devise an idea, because the world started experiencing or started a revolution to change the political system and change the social system as well at the same time. So we have to devise a method. It was totally agreed that हमें एक ऐसा मेथड डिवाइस करना चाहिए, ठीक है, ऐसा मेथड डिवाइस करना चाहिए या ऐसा मैकेनिज्म बनाना चाहिए जिसमें वन और फ्यू का इंटरेस्ट ना सर्व हो करके मैनी का इंटरेस्ट सर्व हो. तो उस केस में हमें मिलता है डेमोक्रेसी. क्या मिलता है? डेमोक्रेसी. सो इट वाज जनरली एक्सेप्टेड दैट डेमोक्रेसी कैन बी अ पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम वेयर द इंटरेस्ट ऑफ द मैक्सिमम पीपल इज सर्व्ड. किसका इंटरेस्ट? मैक्सिमम पीपल का. वो सिर्फ डेमोक्रेसी में हो सकता है. अब यहां पे प्रॉब्लम ये थी कि एक नेशन जो बन रहा था, मतलब एवरी नेशन was having a huge population and the huge area within their national boundaries. उनके national boundaries में huge area cover हो रहा था, huge population cover हो रहा था. और जिस डेमोक्रेसी की बात एंशिएंट पीरियड में करी गई, इट वॉज मोर और लेस लाइक अ डायरेक्ट डेमोक्रेसी. वो कैसा था? डायरेक्ट डेमोक्रेसी था. अब वो डायरेक्ट डेमोक्रेसी, द सेम डायरेक्ट डेमोक्रेसी दैट वाज फंक्शनिंग इन द एंशिएंट पीरियड, cannot be replicated in the modern period, considering the certain obstacles in the form of the area, in the form of the population. So we have to devise a method which will be not in the form of direct democracy, but in the form of indirect democracy. Not in the direct democracy, and indirect democracy, what happens? Now direct democracy, what happens? Indirect democracy. Indirect democracy, we don't need the constitution as such. Actually, it is not that much required. डायरेक्ट डेमोक्रेसी में कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का रिक्वायरमेंट एज सच नहीं होता है, ज़रूरत नहीं होती है उसकी, ठीक है। डायरेक्ट डेमोक्रेसी में हम इनडायरेक्टली भी विदाउट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन वी कैन रन द, विदाउट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन वी कैन हैव द डायरेक्ट डेमोक्रेसी, बट द प्रॉब्लम was not that. The problem was to devise a method in which we can have the functionality of the indirect democracy. So we moved from direct to indirect democracy. Now the major difference between both this system or the concept is, in this both, is that the people is at the center. Where the people is at the center, and the people is basically the real ruler. People क्या है? People ही real ruler है। अच्छा, डायरेक्ट डेमोक्रेसी में दिक्कत नहीं होती है। डायरेक्ट डेमोक्रेसी होता क्या है कि लॉ इज डायरेक्टली मेड बाय द पीपल देमसेल्फ, सो दे पार्टिसिपेट इनटू द डे टू डे डेली फंक्शंस। जो डे टू डे पॉलिटिकल फंक्शंस होता है, पीपल उसमें डायरेक्टली पार्टिसिपेट कर लेते हैं। इनडायरेक्ट डेमोक्रेसी में ये सिस्टम होता नहीं, ठीक है। इनडायरेक्ट डेमोक्रेसी में ये सिस्टम नहीं होता है। इनडायरेक्ट डेमोक्रेसी में क्या होता है कि देयर इज अ रिप्रेजेंटेटिव चूजन बाय द पीपल टू रिप्रेजेंट देमसेल्फ इन द लेजिस्लेटिव प्रोसेस मेकिंग द लॉ, और एग्जीक्यूटिव का काम है कि वो जाकर के लॉ को इंप्लीमेंट करे। जुडिशरी का काम लॉ को एग्जीक्यूट करना है, एजुडिकेट करना है। एग्जीक्यूटिव का काम लॉ को एग्जीक्यूट करना है, बट द रियल पावर इज विद द लॉ मेकर, द वन हु इज द लेजिस्लेचर। इन डायरेक्ट डेमोक्रेसी द पीपल देमसेल्फ आर लेजिस्लेचर, दे डोंट नीड एनीवन। द ब्यूटिफुल एग्जाम्पल of the direct democracy in the world, one is the Switzerland as a country, and in India we have a Gram Sabha model. Gram Sabha is a reflection of the direct democracy, ठीक है। Now indirect democracy, the moment we say that we have to move to the indirect democracy where the representative, the people will elect somebody to work on their behalf, उनके बिहाफ पे वो क्या करे, वो काम करे। मेजर काम क्या करे, लॉ मेकिंग का काम करे। मेजर काम लॉ मेकिंग का करे। इसे हम लोग वी ऑल्सो कॉल इट एज अ रिप्रेजेंटेटिव डेमोक्रेसी। रिप्रेजेंटेटिव डेमोक्रेसी, ओके। बट द प्रॉब्लम वॉज, इफ दिस पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम टू बी फंक्शन, what is required actually? We have to devise some basic rules to make this system work. हमें क्या करना पड़ेगा, हमें बेसिक रूल बनाना पड़ेगा जो इस सिस्टम को, जो इस पर्टिकुलर सिस्टम को फंक्शन करा सके। We have to set some foundational rules. We have to devise some foundational rules, or you can say the principles. Why? Because in the earlier system what used to happen is that the king is everything, the monarch is everything, the aristocrat is everything, but now the ball is in the court of the people. अब किसके पास है? लोगों के पास है कि वो फाउंडेशनल प्रिंसिपल सेट करें। जनरली इससे पहले का जो सिस्टम होता था वो किससे रूल होता था? मेजरली इट वाज रूल्ड बाय, आइदर इट इज रूल्ड बाय द किंग with the will of the king, or it is ruled by the religious text। या तो रिलीजियस टेक्स्ट से रूल होता था, ठीक है, जो रिलीजियस स्क्रिप्चर्स बोलते थे, या तो किंग के विम्स और फैंसी और उसके विल से रूल हो जाता था। अब ये दोनों ही चीज से हमें प्रॉब्लम थी। और डेमोक्रेसी में जहां पे डाइवर्सिटी इन द कंट्री है, in term of religion, language, culture, choice, likes, dislikes, rights, liberties, duties, ये सारी चीजें, जहां पर भी ये सारी चीजें हैं, वहां पे या कोई भी नेशन आज की डेट में ऐसा नहीं है जो होमोजीनियस है। द नेशन आर हेट्रोजीनियस in any aspect as such। नेशन क्या है? हेट्रोजीनियस। इस केस में फाउंडेशनल प्रिंसिपल क्या होगा? वो बेसिक प्रिंसिपल क्या होगा जिसपे पूरा का पूरा नेशन रन करेगा? द एंटायर नेशन विल फंक्शन, ठीक है, एंटायर नेशन विल फंक्शन ऑन दैट फंडामेंटल प्रिंसिपल्स, ऑन दैट फंडामेंटल लॉ that came to be known as constitution। उसे क्या बोला गया? constitution। it is a constitution, it is known as constitution। the fundamental, it is also known as the fundamental law of the land, fundamental law of the land, fundamental law of the land, this is the constitution। ठीक है, क्या है? फंडामेंटल लॉ ऑफ द लैंड। यू हैव अंडरस्टूड हाउ वी हैव ट्रैवल्ड और वी हैव अंडरस्टैंड द इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन। द फर्स्ट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन दैट केम इनटू एग्जिस्टेंस, द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन कैन बी बोथ written and unwritten constitution, but we will be talking whenever we refer constitution, we refer constitution in the form of written, and the first written constitution that came into existence was American Constitution, that is US Constitution that came into existence। US का कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन जो पहला कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बना जो रिटन फॉर्म में आया, ठीक है, आफ्टर द अमेरिकन रेवोल्यूशन, when the America got independence, the written constitution came into existence in the last quarter of 18th century, and this idea inspired the world to adopt a kind of constitution which is made by the masses, which is made by the masses। किसने बनाया उसे? मास ने बनाया। कैसा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बना? मोस्टली सेकुलर बना, ठीक है, यू गेटिंग माई पॉइंट? नाउ इमेजिन यू एज एन ऑर्डिनरी सिटीजन, यू हैव आस्क्ड टू मेक द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन फॉर द नेशन। आपसे ये बोला गया कि आप पूरे नेशन के लिए कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बनाइए, पूरे नेशन के लिए आप क्या बनाइए? कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बनाइए। तो आप क्या करेंगे? whenever you will make a constitution for the entire nation, as a human personality, as a human basic, considering your basic human nature, आपके बेसिक ह्यूमन नेचर को अगर कंसीडर किया जाए तो ह्यूमन का बेसिक नेचर क्या है? ह्यूमन का बेसिक नेचर है सेल्फ इंटरेस्ट। ह्यूमन का बेसिक नेचर सेल्फ इंटरेस्ट है, अदर्स इंटरेस्ट उसका बेसिक नेचर नहीं है। वो कंपल्शन है किसका? सोसाइटी का। कि सोसाइटी कहती है, द सोसाइटी डिक्टेट्स यू टू थिंक अबाउट अदर्स इन द सोसाइटी। आप क्या करिए? आप सोसाइटी में दूसरों के बारे में भी सोचिए। किसके बारे में? दूसरों के बारे में भी सोचिए। लेकिन आपका बेसिक नेचर क्या है कि whenever I will ask you to devise a method for the nation or for anybody, what you will do? You will first protect your own interest. आप क्या करोगे? आप सबसे पहले अपना इंटरेस्ट प्रोटेक्ट करोगे. And this basic human nature has gave the emergence of the most important component in the US Constitution, and this important constitution has the most important component in the Constitution, in the US Constitution, has inspired the world after that. And that the most important component of the Constitution is in the US Constitution and in the Indian Constitution. Indian Constitution was also inspired by that particular basic or most fundamental component of that Constitution is fundamental rights. It is known as, in US Constitution, it is known as Bill of Rights. Bill of Rights. And in Indian Constitution, it is known as fundamental rights. Why this bill is used here? This is very important to understand. Why the word bill is used here? Why not simply rights? The word bill is added to this particular fundamental right. When we say bill, commerce के language में bill को क्या कहते हैं? Bill is what? Bill is a due. It's a due or not? It's a due. That is, it's a payable. Payable. क्या है ये? ये payable है. Payable for whom? Payable for whom and payable by whom? There are two questions in this. It is payable, right? And this payable is what? It's payable by whom and payable to whom. किसको पे करना है और किसे पे करना है? The one who is the ruler in the indirect democracy. One who is the acting ruler, not the real ruler. There is a difference between the acting ruler and the real ruler in the indirect democracy. Acting ruler में और real ruler में यही difference है. Indirect democracy. The real ruler is the people, and the acting ruler is the legislature and the executive. They are the acting ruler. ये लोग कौन है? Acting ruler है. Real ruler नहीं है. They are acting ruler. You can considering my points? Okay. So there are two rulers, the acting ruler and the real rulers. So it should be paid by the acting ruler. Acting ruler. And it should be paid to whom? Paid to whom? The real ruler, and that is people. The real ruler, that is people. So at any circumstances, this Bill of Rights in the case of America and this bill and this fundamental right, only the name is changed over here. The Bill of Rights in the American Constitution and the fundamental rights in the Indian Constitution. Only the name has changed, but the characteristic and the essence is same. It has not changed. Okay, it has not changed. So remember this. That is the reason that in the form of fundamental rights, the people has protected their own interest, and it is said that the acting ruler, that is the government, legislature, among all the three organs of the government, legislature is the most strongest organ of the government, most powerful organ of the government, because the real will of the people is represented in the legislature, and the legislature is responsible to protect the interest of the people, and what is their due should be paid to them. and when they paid the due and when they respect the due, they cannot act in the violation of that particular dues, and that dues is in the form of fundamental rights. So there are two limitations on the acting ruler, that is the legislature. There are two obstacles. First, they cannot act or cannot make a law for the nation which will diminish or which will go against the interest of the individual that is mentioned in the fundamental rights. First thing. Second thing, you cannot make a law which will violate the foundational rules or the fundamental rules of the constitution, written document. Suppose the constitution is speaking that there should be a parliamentary system, and suddenly you start making a presidential system. That's a violation of the constitution. When you implement these both act as an obstacle on whom? On the legislature. Executive cannot do anything which is not granted by the legislature. Executive is just like, in the theoretical sense, executive is the least powerful organ, but in the practical sense, executive is very powerful. Theoretically, executive is very, and we'll discuss that when I'll discuss with you the government. Then I'll discuss why it is powerful, why it is not powerful. Okay, you getting me? Okay? When these two obstacles is used by the people to correct the course of actions of the legislature, such an activity is known as constitutionalism. That is, you are implementing what? You are implementing the essence of the constitution or the principles of the constitution. Okay. So thank you very much. I'll discuss with you people further in the Indian polity lecture.